where he said she's an acceptable loss. She's just a woman. And these are things I know for sure happened. It's not as important. Whatever. Moments where men that I trusted, who said, I'm there for you, used me and then said, all right, cool. Well, I'm flipping the script and I'm going to go this other way. And because I was gentle, kind, understanding, or because of other reasons we're not going to get into right now because I don't want to incriminate myself, chose to make a decision and misuse my position. Hey, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Soul Talk by Mdrn Woman, where we gather to share stories about our lives as women that create a safe space where our sisters can listen and heal and thrive and grow. I am Aleshia Nicole, the founder of Mdrn Woman, and I'm so very glad that you chose to tune into another episode. It means so much to me. We talk a lot about solidarity that is created when we share stories, and I love this series because it's giving us as women freedom to deal with the issues that living in a male-dominated narrative about us has caused. I'm not just talking about a male-dominated society. We're specifically focusing on a narrative that has been worked out about who we are, largely in part by men, but our voices need to be added to that story. We're not blaming our life issues on men. Hear me. We're not doing that. But we're saying it's time for us to reclaim our own voice. And we have to displace the ones that don't match what God says about who we are. So we delve more into that today. Interested in more? I know I am. So let's tune in.
It's not what it says at all. And I think that has a lot to do with why things are so problematic. And I mean, of course, we're speaking again, from Black American Christian women perspective. And I think that there's a lot of perversion when it comes to the way that women are discussed, and from a so-called Christian perspective, because I don't even like to, because I think for me it is so far from Christ that it's antichrist. So but from the perspective of the narrative that westernized Christianity has brought and continues to perpetuate, that scripture, along with, even scriptures about submission. People still say dumb stuff like women shouldn't preach. Like, how dumb is that? Like, how do you still think that? I don't even understand. I don't understand stuff like that. But I think that when you have aligned yourself with religion in that perspective in such a way, then it's really hard to get out of it. But this is clearly not the heart of the Lord, because this woman was a boss before he met her. He did not make her a boss. It was not that connection that caused her to be who she was. She was walking in her purpose, and fully capable. That scripture lines out multiple things that she was doing. She was up early, ready to work.
She what was it? She bought a field, bought property, made a vineyard, made tapestries and linen to sell to others, and for her own personal enjoyment.
She wore nice clothes, honey. She was looking good. Okay,
kept her house looking good, and
she provided food for her family.
If you want to look as good as me, you can buy this too. You can buy this from me.
Like she was providing food for the family. That is one of the things that it says. So she was a serial entrepreneur.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, Mel. You're a virtuous
woman. Really was. She really was. And that's the thing about that I think is really frustrating, is acting like, your life begins when you meet a man, instead of like actually speaking into the identity and the purpose of women as they grow up, so that they are not just out here waiting for a man to find them and are actually operating in who they were created to be.
And do you want to know what? For the right man to find you, you need to be operating in who you were created to be, because he recognized her virtue. And this woman was not, like, she was virtuous, honor, clothed in strength and honor and dignity. She's a godly woman who, so it just completely shatters the idea that a godly woman is only this or only that. She's so many things. And here's the thing, like, I am, aspiring to grow into what we read in that scripture. And yes. And the Lord, I was thinking about this, like, I feel like I'm a lot. I'm super expressive. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm intelligent. I'm full of ideas. I'm creative. I'm a force, and when I meet someone, I'm going to be all that for him. Like, being a boss, women who love well want to see their husbands, their men, their fathers, their brothers succeed. Like, the same, we pour into people. So it's not, you want a woman who's powerful and great and awesome and has the right heart and is of the Lord, because she's going to be all that stuff for you. Like, we're not out here saying I can do without a man. Like, I definitely want to get married to the right guy. But there have been so many men, who've passed up great and wonderful women because they were so mighty. When you forget, like, what? What did you say? I missed it.
I said, girl, to me, like, an actual mighty man.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
A mighty woman. So for me, like, men who pass up strong women are themselves weak, because it, like, how? Because you're insecure? Like, that is the type of man who struggles with a strong woman, because you're not, like, strong women in general are not trying to destroy men.
Yeah.
They're not. They want a strong man right there with them. Like, and we don't always want to be strong. We don't always want to do it all. Take. Yeah, exactly. Like, we want somebody who we can partner with and do life with. So for those that are intimidated by strong women, I say keep being intimidated so you can get from around here. Like, stay away from me. Because it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. It doesn't make sense, especially biblically. It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
And so the narrative should be completely different. And I think, like, I could hear someone saying, how do you know that the narrative is off? Because because I learned it. And and now in the Lord, I'm learning something different. And I'm like, what God's telling me about me and who I am, where I'm going, what a woman is, who she is, how the Lord esteems that is different than what I've been taught. Because I'm unlearning in God, I know the narrative is wrong.
Exactly. Because that unlearning is so real. Like, because once you step outside of the system, it's literally like getting out of the matrix. And you're like looking around like, what? Do I need to go back in? Like, you're like, what just happened? Because it's back. So different. It is so significantly different when you recognize from the Lord what is needed to unlearn. And I think, like, if you actually read the Bible objectively and not with the lens of what you've been taught, it's very clear. Like, reading even that scripture is very clear that woman was not sitting at home taking care of her children. Like,
she
that was not the
whole
whole of who she was. Exactly. Yeah. That was not the whole of who she was. It wasn't just, oh, I found this wonderful woman, I'm going to have children with her, and she's going to stay at home and take care of these children. You don't see that in that scripture at all. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, even there's a strong presence of women that surrounded Jesus and that did ministry with him, that did ministry even with the apostles. Like, the greatest apostle in the Bible was a woman. So she's referred to as the most excellent apostle. Not a man. It wasn't Paul. It was Junia. Okay, so I mean, like, I think because of the patriarchal society and because of who gets to write history, that's why it's told from the perspective that it is, instead of what's right. You know, like, and people innately value themselves and their own contributions more than they do others, especially when said others are different than them. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Recognizing that we are all created in the image of God, and that no one is greater than the other one, plays a big role in being able to recognize that our contribution to society is no less than men's.
Yeah.
And being able to acknowledge the strength of the contribution of a woman does not diminish the contribution of a man. Like, it's so dumb.
Absolutely doesn't.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and I think, so one of the things that has been really important to me, what I'm learning through all of this, building Mdrn Woman, getting out the message, bringing in other women to share stories. You know, I was so excited to start this podcast because I didn't want it to ever be just my face and just my voice. I'm creating a platform of multiple women, and we all, like I say, the Mdrn Woman is the woman who is living her best life now, living her story. And it's heartbreaking actually how many of us have forfeited our destinies and our callings in God to fulfill the pleasure of what a man said we should do. There were so many times where I was tempted, moments in my life where I lost position, where I lost favor. And, you know, granted, those are good growing moments. Some of them were humbling and I needed to be humbled. But the thought process behind in the man where he said she's an acceptable loss. She's just a woman. And these are things I know for sure happened. You know, it's not as important. Whatever. Moments where men that I trusted, who said, I'm there for you, used me and then said, all right, cool. Well, I'm flipping the script and I'm going to go this other way. And because I was gentle, kind, understanding, or because of other reasons we're not going to get into right now because I don't want to incriminate myself, you know, chose to make a decision and misuse my position and who I was. That is, and I'm someone who's fighting to live by destiny. I'm thinking of how many more of us have forfeited, laid it down, didn't have the fight in us because it's hard to fight the culture. It's hard to live counterculture. Really, really hard to live counter narrative because you're creating a new narrative and you don't have a template. How many of us have forfeited our destiny? And the Lord's not okay with it because he gave us a destiny to be a voice. He is absolutely not okay with me saying, you know, I'm making this up because I've never been married, but I married this guy and he's like, hey, you know, I don't think you should do this, but the Lord called me to this, but I'm your husband, obey me. And connected to that, but no, that's what women do.
Right.
I've heard stories of it. I have heard. Okay. And so then God said do, and he said do. And if connected to your doing of that thing were multiple people who would have received freedom and deliverance. Maybe it's a woman who was meant to preach, and there is a child who would have heard a message that she would have taught that would have awakened destiny and hope, or a person who who committed suicide, who would not have if they had heard the message that God intended that woman to preach, and they would have lived and they would have birthed a child. God always has a rework, but he don't want to always be reworking stuff. Like, he had a plan. Can we stick to the plan? Can we stick to the plan and live the scroll, the book of our life that we've been given? And that was really, that's what has been on the Father's heart. My daughters are laying down what I call them to do because they've been hearing a wrong message. I want to get the message out. And we can empower one another. Us speaking to one another, like, look, a dude's not going to get it. Most dudes won't get it. There are a few I know, like I can think of three men that I know whom I respect and honor and love who get it. And when I hear them talk, I'm like, I would let you speak to me and speak into me because I trust you, because I've heard what you have to say about it. But most men I don't really want to hear it. And a lot of women don't even have that, So let's speak to one another. Let's empower one another. Let's wash one another's feet and build one another up, because there's an aspect of knowing how to walk out being a woman that a man can't teach you. And that's been part of the problem.
It has really, and honestly, is men having the audacity to think they can speak to the experience of a woman. How are you that arrogant that you really think that you understand, what we go through, what our experience is, how the Lord has designed us.
Okay, good people, we're almost at the end of this series, and as deep as it's been, there is more. Check out this little tidbit from the series finale, episode 11.
So please, don't get it wrong as in saying that there's something wrong with women who choose to be at home, because the power is in the choice. It's in recognizing where your destiny lies, what your identity truly is, and operating from that point. If it looks like you being at home, be at home and be blessed.
At home.
And if it doesn't, then be where you're supposed to be and be blessed, because the problem is in the control that we are all supposed to do one thing and look the same way and just be this docile, quiet, lacking identity. Mm-hmm. I do what the man says, and I am yet waiting for a man to arrive, as if we were created for men.
Yeah.
We weren't.
Okay, y'all, I'm so excited to share this final episode of the series with you. Remember to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at mdrnwoman.cc to stay in the know. And we also have some fun, inspirational videos. You can actually watch the podcast on YouTube. We are hilarious, in my opinion. So as great as it is to listen to it, if you want a little entertainment, a little bit more entertainment with your listening experience, check out the YouTube channel, Mdrn Woman. Again, Mdrn spelled MDRN. It's a fun space to connect. So I'll share all the details in the show notes. And thank you again for joining the story today. We will be with you again next week in the next episode.